Ramins, welcome back to the channel. It was a crazy game the other day at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu against Stuttgart. Now, for the matchday vlog that we did release for the Stuttgart game, which by the way, the link will be in the description if you want to check that out, I did mention how impressed I was by Stuttgart as a team. I feel like they were very competent. They were a very worthy rival. They created a lot of chances. It really reminded me of the Champions League final that we played against Borussia Dortmund, because if you recall how the final went, Real Madrid did not play good in the first half. They were actually dominated in terms of chances by Dortmund. And honestly, if you look back at the Real Sociedad match, it was also kind of the same thing. So I am a little bit worried about that. We did have some players who stood out yesterday. We had some players who didn't. But don't you worry, we're going to break all of that down right now. We're going to go through every single player individually. We're going to analyze them. And yeah, welcome to the very first post-game analysis of the channel. Now, that means, as you can see on the screen to the left, we do have the starting 11 that I predicted during the pre-game match analysis for the Stuttgart game. And to the right, you do have the starting lineup that Ancelotti put out for the match. Now, I almost nailed it, but as you can tell, Carvajal did start at center back for yesterday's game, with Vasquez filling in the right back role, which I was very surprised to see, but I was wondering whether it was a question of Militao's health, whether he was fit to play, whether it was fatigue, whether he was dealing with some sort of injury. So we will talk about that in a second, but first, I want to talk about Thibaut Courtois. All right, Remins, first up, Thibaut Courtois. Honestly, I hate the fact that we have to start with Courtois because Courtois was by far the best player on the field. He was incredible. He kept us in the game. He made some incredible saves. And as someone who's a very big Lunin guy, I want to see Lunin succeed as much as possible with his team. So as long as Courtois is playing like this, I can't debate who deserves to start for Real Madrid. Courtois was incredible yesterday. There has been a lot of worries ever since he got injured, whether he could, reach the same level of play that he had before. But performances like yesterday keep proving that he is arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. So performance-wise, I'm going to give Courtois a 9 out of 10. Now, Lucas Vasquez was very poor yesterday. I think that's why he was substituted at halftime. He was substituted before the start of the second half. Now, personally, I'm a sucker for Lucas Vasquez. I love the guy. During his first season at Real Madrid, I was always very iffy about him as a player, but as soon as I saw him walk up to take the very first penalty in the final in Milan, and I literally see this guy with ice in his veins just juggling the ball, throwing it up in the air, all cool. Ever since then, I've had an incredible amount of respect for the guy, and to be honest, he is an incredible depth player. He is very worthy of wearing the Real Madrid jersey. And speaking of how cool he was at taking penalties, if you look at the Man City penalty shootout that we won last year, the guy was doing the same thing. With that being said, I do think that Lucas Vasquez played very poorly, and that's why they took him out. He did make a mistake that led to the very first one-on-one chance that Stuttgart had during the game. So as much as I love him, I'm gonna have to give him a 3 out of 10 in performance because I do not think that he played well at all, and I do think that's the reason why they brought in Mili at halftime. Now, Carvajal playing center back, he did it last season when we had a lot of injuries at the position, and let me tell you, the guy can play center back. He doesn't have the height for it. He's obviously a better right back. Carvajal to me is also one of the most underrated players that has taken a lot of criticism over the years, and I don't think that he played an incredible game either, so I'm gonna give him a 6 out of 10 based off of performance. But he was very solid, so I really don't have anything to complain about. Now, Rudiger, I love the guy, man. The guy is, he's a character. He's a character. And at the end of the day, he did play a very solid game. He did score the winner of the match, even though Endrick scored in stoppage time. Beautiful cross by Modric, by the way. So with that being said, Rudiger was definitely one of the best players on the field. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Now, Mendy, I hyped him up so much in the pregame analysis. I am very happy that he got his renewal. I do love Mendy, but he did not play well at all. He was making a lot of mistakes. He was inconsistent. I understand why they took him off the field. At first, I was worried it might be injury related because it's Mendy. You never know. But there have been no reports of any sort of injury with him, so I do think it was performance based. As much as I love him, I'm going to have to give him the same rating that I gave Lucas Vasquez because he was very inconsistent. I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. Now, moving on to the midfield. I was indeed very harsh with Tchouaméni during the pregame analysis. I do think that he was a very solid player yesterday, though. It was nothing special. I do think that maybe he's still getting back up to fitness, back up to speed since the start of the season, but he does look better since the very beginning. So he wasn't bad. He wasn't anything special. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Now, Fede Valverde, I don't really know what I can say other than what I've already said about this guy. He is by far Real Madrid's best player of the season. And even though he didn't really take part in the goals yesterday, the guy's work rate and everything that he brings to the team, everything that he leaves on the field is incredible. Every single game. And when Tchouaméni was subbed out for Luka Modric, Fede did drop back into the center defensive position, and he killed it. The guy's a Swiss Army knife. The guy's overpowered. 7 out of 10 for Fede Valverde. Now, Jude. Man, it was so good to see him back on the field. I was a little bit worried on how fast he was going to be able to recover his form. Because if you remember last season when he did get injured and he came back from injury, back then he looked very out of shape. And I don't know if it's because of the physical effort that he put in at the very beginning of the season when he was scoring all the clutch goals. But Bellingham yesterday played incredible. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 because he did create a lot of chances. He was the heart of the team, and he is everything that Real Madrid have missed ever since he got injured. Now, I'm going to start with Vinny because we have to talk about Vinny. I don't know what it is about Vinny. His form is just not there. And again, I would love to say that it's because he hasn't really figured out the chemistry with the front three yet, but I don't think that's it. Vinny did not play good with Brazil when he went to go play in the international break, and I don't think it's because of a lack of effort. I think he might have the yips or something. He might be going through a mental block, but even though he didn't play well in the very first 60 minutes, I think in the last 30 minutes of the game, we started seeing some of the old Vinny back. He did have a really good shot from outside of the box with his left foot, which is his weak foot. He hit the crossbar on that play. It was a really good play. He still needs to improve. He still needs to figure it out with Mbappe up top, but I do think that what I saw from Vinny in the last 30 minutes yesterday was encouraging, to say the least. So if I take that into account and I kind of blend it with his first half performance, I'm going to have to give Vinny a 5 out of 10. But I do see some encouraging signs with Vinny Jr. Now, Rodrigo, this might be one of the players that I wanted to talk the most about because he absolutely balled out yesterday. I think that the fact that he got snubbed by the Ballon d'Or shortlist and the fact that he is being kind of shunned away from the trio that is Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, and Vinny Jr., I think he's hungry to prove himself, and I love that. Because Rodrigo is one of the most talented players in the world. Yesterday, he was balling out, he was breaking ankles left and right, and I personally was very upset when Ancelotti decided to take him out instead of Vinicius Jr. because the player that needed to leave the field yesterday was Vinny Jr. Even though Vinny started playing better, maybe Rodrigo was tired, I don't know, but I highly disagree with Ancelotti's decision to take out Rodrigo because Rodrigo was subbed out for Arda Güler, and if you do want to plug Arda Güler on the right side, you can definitely take out Vinny, put Rodrigo on the left, which is arguably his best position, and he was balling out yesterday. I do think that he should have gotten a lot more play than he did. Anyways, I do think he was one of the best players on the field. He did get an assist when he assisted Mbappe's very first Champions League goal for Real Madrid. So I'm going to give Rodri an 8 out of 10. Now, Mbappe was dangerous yesterday. He did create a lot of chances. He looks better and better every single game. You can also tell that he has a really good friendship with Jude Bellingham, with Vinny Jr., with Rodrigo. They look like they're a solid group, which makes me really happy because there was a lot of reports that Neymar was talking shit about our boy. But listen, my opinion on the Neymar reports and what he said about Mbappe, I do think that Neymar was a very toxic influence in the PSG locker room just because of his lack of professionalism. There was a lot of reports that the guy was hosting poker nights at his place the night before a Champions League match, that he ate McDonald's, that he just wasn't professional enough. And I do think that Kylian, being as ambitious as he is, I do think that's where they clash. But enough about Neymar. I don't really care about the guy. I'm going to give Mbappe a 7 out of 10. Now, in terms of the subs, Mili was the first sub in. I do think that he was quite solid, and I do have a very strong opinion on him being the best center back in the world when he's fit. But I'm very curious as to why he didn't start yesterday. So that's something to monitor. Just stay on the lookout for that. I'll give Militao a 6 out of 10. Now, Luka Modric did ball out. He did make some very questionable decisions at the very beginning when he was subbed on. But as I mentioned, he did have a beautiful cross to Rudiger when Rudiger scored the winner of the match. And it's always good to see Luka back on the field. Even though he is not the same player that he used to be, I do think that the talent is still there and he can definitely bring a lot to this team. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I do think that Luka Modric played very well. Now, Fran Garcia coming on for Mendy was something that I feel like needed to happen just because Mendy did not have a good game. Now, if you watch the pregame match analysis, you will know that I am a big Fran Garcia guy, especially with the way that he's been playing this season. I don't think that he did anything special yesterday, but he was just an overall solid player, so I'm just going to give him a 6 out of 10. Now, Arda Güler didn't really do much. He was kind of non-existent in the match. I didn't really see him move the ball around. He didn't really create many chances. Now, at the end of the game, when Vinny had his one-on-one chance saved, somehow the ball did make its way back to Mbappe, and I do think that he made the poor decision in taking a shot right there, because if you look at the play closely, Arda Güler was making a perfect overlap run, which if Mbappe sees that and gives him the ball, it's an absolute goal. So I do think Arda Güler was unfortunate there, but I also don't think that he created any chances or he wasn't anything special, so I'm going to have to give him a 4 out of 10. Now, Endrick, Sir Bobby Charlton, it's really frustrating to see that he only gets 10 minutes of time. But people forget how young this guy is. He does have a lot of future ahead of him. I'm very excited for what's to come, especially with what he's been able to show so far. He did send a beautiful pass to Vinny Jr. to put him one-on-one against the keeper. It's unfortunate that he didn't score, but Endrick is a work in progress. But what you can see out of the kid right now is incredible. And we do have to talk about his goal because, listen, if you've played the game, if you have any sort of football IQ, you know that the decision that he made to shoot from 30 plus yards out with Vinny Jr. wide open on the right and Mbappe wide open on the left was one of the worst decisions he could have made at the moment. But he scored. He nailed it. The guy has a ripper. He has Adriano type of shot power. And this is why we love Endrick, because there's just so many flashes of talent that he just shows from time to time. And this is why we love Endrick, because even though he arguably made the worst decision he could have made at the moment, and he scored it. Honestly, I personally couldn't believe the decision that he made to shoot, because you do have two of the best players in the world wide open just to have a one-on-one chance against the keeper. And you decide to shoot from that far away and you put it in the goal. What a player, bro. The guy only played 10 minutes and yet he found a way to be very influential. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. And yeah, that means that is all for our post-game analysis. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash the thumbs up button. We do play at home against Espanyol on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. We will be going to the game. We will also be dropping a pre-game and post-match analysis of the game. And with that being said, I will catch you guys next time. Peace.